All right, so we are here now in the Global Innovation Center in Antwerp. And I'm going to show you all the different digital printing presses that we have here, the different solutions for the label printers or people that want to migrate into label printing. Now, before I'm going to take you into the Innovation Center and show the different products, I'm just going to give you some summary of how actually which could be a way how to look into what kind of investment you should take or what you have to take in consideration. Think about, for example, the various end-use applications that you come across in the label market. It could be food, pharma, wine and spirits, health and beauty, chemical, durable labels. Think about, for example, the champagne bottles indeed, and you look to the material that is being used there, a natural structured paper, compared, for example, the labels that are used in the bathroom on the shampoo bottle. Most of the times a transparent look and feel with different kind of embellishments on there, or looking to food labels. Again, a total different label that you see. So you see that the end-use label and the end-use application is really driving the requirements for the different solutions that you would need to serve such kind of markets. And it's not only substrates, it's also, for example, image quality or the specific requirements that are set towards the inks in terms of durability, in terms of opacity, in terms of look and feel. But let's take them step by step. For example, we have the end-use applications, then you go into the point where you have to choose which kind of print technology are you going to utilize. Are you going to go for an electrophotographic solution or rather for a UV inkjet solution? What is the big difference between those? Well, for example, if you look to electrophotographic, which could come in a form of liquid toner, dry toner, that delivers you a much higher quality. You see that purely by the screen rulings that are being used, the AM screens that you can use on those type of technology. It really allows you to be a complement towards offset and gravure and also flexo. Where UV inkjet, due to the nature of the print technology, the fact that it actually is a non-contact print technology, you cannot control the dot positioning as accurate as you would do with EP, a contact printing technology. Well, so UV inkjet or inkjet in general would be a kind of a substitute or a complement to the market for flexo printing and screen printing. So that is already one choice that you have to make in terms of the business you want to address. Secondly, you come into the consumables that are being used on these presses. Naturally, if you've chosen a specific EP press, you're going to be working either with liquid toner or with dry toner. But make sure that when you choose a solution there, that dry toner, for example, or that toner is really addressing the specific needs of your segment again. Is it, for example, delivering a high opaque opacity? Is it, for example, food safe? Because that is really the driving position for dry toner solutions. Is it, for example, heat resistant or whatever? Then if you look to the UV inkjet, what kind of requirements would that fill in? Specifically heat resistance, chemical resistance, durability without having to have any specific additional protection. So this is really where the UV inkjet really plays a very strong part. But if you would take it, for example, in the UV food segment, that's a bit iffy, challenging, because of the nature of that technology. And I will explain that later. Secondly, you can look also into the kind of embellishments. What kind of embellishments can you do as an offline in a conventional way, or which kind of embellishments are possible inline today and in the future. And lastly, also your converting equipment, a very important component. Because a printed label is not a finished label. You need to be able to deliver a roll that you can apply to the applicator. And that is where finishing comes in play as well. And this is all part of the Xeikon portfolio. And in the portfolio we have various technologies, that would be a semi-rotary die cutting unit, a full rotary die cutting unit, or even a laser die cutting unit. Whatever serves the needs of your business. Let it be fast turnaround or let it be low cost, high quality die cutting. The choice is out there. Now these components are, I think, very understandable, very easy to comprehend and to take into account. But even more important, and that's actually the basis of your digital transformation, is actually the workflow, the software that allows you to transform your business. You are going to be facing, in a digital environment, in a digital printing business, you are going to be facing many more jobs. And how do you handle them without having too much human intervention, because a human person is a potential risk for an error, and at the same time it's a very costly factor also in your production process. So you really want to automate as much as possible as you can, and this is where the X800 workflows or digital workflows really are important to do that kind of digital transformation. But let me take you through the different steps. I've given you here a quick summary, and let's go first to our label discovery package, the entry solution for the label business. See you in a bit. Welcome to the Global Innovation Center, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here together with Jeroen, who is the operator of the label discovery package. So, why are we talking here about the label discovery package? Well, if you're new to labels, or if you really want to start a digital label printing business, the label discovery package is really the ideal solution. And why so? Well, the label discovery package allows you to address more than 90% of all the end-use applications that you could come across in the label printing business. And the requirements from the end-user label segment are defined through various ways. For example, if you're in the food label market, I'll give you an example here. If you're in the food label market, then you really want to make sure that you're using toners and inks that are food safe. Xeikon toners have an FDA statement for indirect and direct food contact, being food safe in both environments, the direct food contact specifically in the dry food. Of course, a very important aspect. Next to that, you really want to make sure also that your labels stand out, not only from day one when they were printed, but also throughout time. So light fastness is also a very important aspect. Certainly when you want to go into the chemical industry, for example, you really need these very light fast colors. And that is something, again, that comes with the professional industrial solution from Xeikon, with, in this case, the Xeikon 3030. Now, there's more than these requirements from the end-use markets. Other aspects, for example, are the one-pass opaque white. And let me show you here a bit closer. If you look here, this is printed on a transparent label where we're actually utilizing a full color image plus the white. And you really want to have that white capability because that is a very substantial part of the market. It allows you to address the health and beauty market, the premium beer labels, but also it allows you to print on these metallized materials. And those are for sure opportunities you don't want to say no to because these do come at somewhat of a higher price. Now, beyond the white capability, specifically in Europe and in Asia, you will come across also the need for printing, for example, on PE-based materials. This is a much more softer plastic, which is challenging to print. But again, with the solution that we have created, we have actually specific toners that allow you to print this PE face stock, which again you will come across in the health and beauty market. Another aspect that I didn't address yet is, for example, the fact that you can print on thermal materials. Again, a material that is used a lot in the food label industry. But on top of that, you can do other things such as high-end variable data stuff where virtually any label is different from one to the other, but also where you can print on these very challenging face stocks, being the natural papers utilized a lot in the wine and spirit industry. So for sure, with the label discovery package, you have the broadest solution that you could find in the entry-level market, serving the broadest range of end-use markets. But that's just one thing. For sure, you want to make sure that's also very cost-effective. Well, with the label discovery package, you can make that affordable for you. It is affordable already for you with only 1,000 meters a day. With 1,000 meters a day, you can really earn this solution here. And why is that? Well, first of all, you have the Xeikon 3030, which represents the printing part of the solution. And the Xeikon 3030 is really an industrial professional press at an entry level, bringing you the lowest cost consumables that you can find in the entry-level space. On top of that is combined with, in this case, an inline converting unit that allows you to do inline varnishing, UV varnishing, providing you the scuff and scratch resistance, but also that very nice look and feel. And on top of that, one of the most important parts of the solution being the semi-rotary die cutting station. So why is the semi-rotary die cutting station such a crucial part in being very cost effective? Well, if you look to the whole manufacturing process of labels, the tooling cost and the die cutting cost is a substantial part of that. We have chosen here to work with a semi-rotary die cutting solution that gives you actually the tools which come at a very low cost, but still deliver actually the die cut quality that the label market is used to. And at the same time, the setup time for such kind of tools on such kind of die cut station is way less compared to the full rotary solutions that are out there. Hence, the combination of both the N3D code with the Xeikon 3030 is really the ideal solution for you that want to start your digital label printing business or really just want to start even in the labels. That's just our first solution. Let me take you over now to the next one, being the Panther series, which is our UV inkjet family. Follow me. Okay, welcome here at the PX3000, one of our UV inkjet presses, member of the Panther family, which is a range of 4 different UV inkjet presses that Xeikon is commercializing. I'm together here with Tom. He'll be operating our PX3000 UV inkjet press. Now, UV inkjet is quite new to the digital label space. It's been there for a couple of years already, but everything in the digital label space started off with the toner technologies. Now, the UV inkjet technology really delivers a very good complement to the EP technologies or the toner technologies. Why? Because it really allows you to optimize actually the manufacturing processes of specific end-use applications. Optimizing manufacturing processes in, for example, not require any varnishing, no need for lamination, or for example, giving a higher turnaround time, a higher throughput compared to the other technologies or to the other presses. And that is really how it complements to the EP technology that has been out there for many years and is also evolving for many years. Now, where are the true positioning, or where is the real fit for UV inkjet in the market if you look from end-use application? Well, first of all, the UV inkjet technology delivers a high glossy, tactile look and feel. So that is very much appreciated by certain brand owners in, for example, the health and beauty, or for example in the premium beer labels, where you're printing on clear PEs or where you're printing on clear BOPPs. So that's, for example, one very specific application or end use where the UV inkjet fits very well. Next to that, it's also in the durability, the durable labels, the performance labels, where you really need, for example, chemical resistance, light fastness or sun resistance, where you need temperature resistance, all those type of things where labels are really pushed to the boundary, to the maximum limit on terms of the ink requirements. And that is where UV inkjet for sure, without a need for varnish, and in most cases, without the need of lamination, really fulfills that. And where, if you look to the EP technologies, they're a bit less suited, or you need to apply a different additional processes to really come to meet such kind of standards. And the other aspect is where, for example, you can go indeed for cost optimization. And I'm looking then, for example, in the applications where varnish is not required or not demanded by a customer. So he expects, for example, a scuff and scratch resistance, but he wants to have the very lowest price also. He's expecting only a screen printing or flexo quality in his print, and not having the highest quality that actually, for example, toner presses or electrophotographic presses are delivering actually. So and there is where again inkjet delivers you the capability of doing that cost optimization, of not having the need to apply a varnish to be scuff and scratch resistance. So purely avoiding that cost. So those are the areas where really the UV inkjet is very strong in its positioning. Now, the Panther itself is a fairly new technology. Still, it exists with some very unique and patented technology also that gives you, for example, that high level of durability. A good example of that is, for example, the Panther DuraCure, which is the specific curing technology that sits here in this printing press. How does it work? Well, first of all, we do a pinning of our white So you have that solid layer on top of which you can then print actually your C and YK. After which we again do the pinning to avoid actually that you will get a duller kind of image, that you maintain that high level of gloss. But then we come into the really unique part of the Panther, where we're combining actually the high-powered LED with a small touch of mercury curing. And that really gives you a durability of the inks which is outperforming any other UV inkjet press. Proven actually by leading suppliers that is really the case. Now, what is so beneficial besides that high durability? Well, the fact that we're using the high-powered LED really gives you that high penetration and curing inside the inks. It relates to the durability, but it means that we're not exposing so much energy, or we're not exposing any heat to the substrate. So it gives you some latitude, additional latitude in application space in terms of substrates, and at the same time it doesn't use that amount of energy that you're requiring as well. And then fourthly, and maybe the most important one, LED curing is very consistent throughout time. The lifespan of such kind of lamps is around about 20,000 hours and even exceeding that. And with the mercury bulb, which we're still using, and actually that is doing the surface curing of the ink, we're running at a much lower power level. And by doing that, the lifespan of that bulb is also increasing. And the combination of both gives you a higher consistency in curing over a longer time period, beyond what is a normal lifetime of mercury lamps, for example. So that is really where the Panther is quite unique. Next to that, it is of course connected to our X800 workflow, but I'll come back to that later in the next session, in one of the next sessions, to highlight you where actually our X800 really makes the productivity of this Panther PX3000, the PX3000 really stand out compared to other UV inkjet presses, because it's not only the printing press, it's also how you drive the printing press that really makes you perform. So we touched upon the label discovery package. We've talked about the Panther. Let's go now to our Xeikon CX3, one of the high-end 30-inch presses in the toner-based. See you in a bit. All right, so here we are with the Xeikon Cheetah, probably one of the most known presses, Xeikon presses around the world in the label industry. You can find her down in New Zealand, up in the north of America, north of Europe, and even down in the southern parts of Latin America, in Chile, for example. And why is that? Well, it's a very successful press because it delivers a lot of benefits to you as a label printer. What are those? Well, for example, it has a web width of 13-inch, but runs at a speed of 30 meters a minute or 98 feet a minute. But more important, that speed is not impacted by the dimensions of the labels that you're printing, small, large, doesn't matter. It's not impacted by the amount of print stations that you're using. It's not impacted by the level of opacity from your white that you require. And fourthly, it's not impacted about the resolution that you're printing. You will always be running at the highest resolution, a true 1200 dpi printing press. Now this 1200 dpi printing resolution, together with the dry toner, delivers a lot of benefits to you as a label printer, because it allows you to really address that higher quality segment. So complementing your offset labels, complementing your flexo labels. It actually achieves a very good result also on very challenging materials, like for example the natural papers, structured papers used in the wine and spirits, which require also that high quality. So it's really an ideal press for such kind of segments. But beyond that, it serves a broader range of end-use applications. Looking, for example, in the food safety. If you look to the dry toner, it has a tremendous advantage in food safety. Why is that? There's no liquid components sitting around that dry toner that have a potential to migrate. It's a dry substance. Still, that is not the only thing that makes it an ideal technology. If you look also to the chemical nature of the dry toner, it is of such a chemical structure that it has a very low molecular transmission rate. Now these are all complicated words that I'm using maybe, but you could see it in a much more simpler and easier way. Take for example the toner bottles, and you look to the packaging. You can't find any signs on there that indicate that this is a hazardous product, and that's indeed because it isn't. But take on the other side a liquid toner bottle, or take for example the bottles for any of the UV inkjet presses that you could find on the market, even our own Panther, and you look to the package, you would immediately see these these hazardous signs that are required by legislation in case it is a hazardous product. So hence, that's already very small things that allow you to see that there is a big difference between those different technologies. Now, it's not only about food safety. There are some other advantages. For example, the fact that it gives a very high light fastness dry toner. That's not by the nature of it being dry toner, but because we've made the choice, Xeikon, to put in high quality pigments. And it ensures that you can sell labels that don't stand out only on day one, but really stand out for the longer term. On top of that, dry toner gives also the flexibility in expanding your color gamut. What do I mean with that? Well, standard, the Xeikon or the Cheetah press is actually equipped with 5 print stations, CMYK plus white. You could actually take any of those colors out, and in most cases it's the white which people will take out and replace it with a gamut extension color. A red, a blue, an orange, and you actually expand the gamut in a specific area. But you could also replace that color with, for example, a custom color that we could make, like in this case, which is a custom specific gray that was made for a customer. It only takes about 10 minutes. There's no long cleaning cycles. Why? Because again, it's dry powder, it's dust, which you can suck away with a vacuum cleaner. And to give you an idea where in application, where, for example, these custom colors are used, and where also our uniqueness of the 1200 dpi print resolutions are used, is, for example, these tax stamps. If you come to Belgium or Luxembourg and you would buy any smoking goods, cigarettes, cigars, you would see the tax stamps that are on there, all of them are printed on a Xeikon press, utilizing the 1200 dpi to integrate unique security features, but at the same time also utilizing, I think, 2 or 3 unique custom colors to make it really a secure product that costs a lot of, that actually is costing a lot of money and has a lot of high value also. All right, this is what I want to share with you on our 13-inch dry toner technology. Let's walk over now to the last member of the family that joined the family actually, our Xeikon CX500. See you in a bit. So we're here at the 4th and last machine. Gert is the main operator here on this press. You might see him passing through the image. But which machine are we looking at here? That's our Xeikon CX500, which is really the latest generation dry toner press that we have there. From printing speed, it runs at the same speed as our CX3, our Cheetah, which you showed just a few minutes before. But what is the main big value that our Xeikon CX500 brings? That is the printing web width. To give you an example here on these labels, if you would be printing this on your Xeikon CX3, you would have 3 across. With our Xeikon CX500, you immediately put 2 additional lanes, which means that you actually are gaining 60% capacity. So if you have specific jobs that represent a large volume of multi-varieties, if you have jobs that have a certain height, let's say 150 millimeter high, then you would see that there's a tremendous gain in capacity, production capacity, with the Xeikon CX500. Now beyond that, the Xeikon CX500 is also the first machine of the new generation dry toner presses. It's built on a total new platform. From printing architecture and also from the technology point of view, it is the same. So we're building further upon our dry toner technology, but we've further enhanced it. So if you look, for example, to the print stations, you might recognize the main components, but you will see that again we have increased the quality bar that you would expect or that you for the printing press. On top of that, we have built in a lot of new technologies which expand your application range. For example, a new conditioning unit, which would help you to control the humidity level, for example, in your substrates, if that will be required, for example, on paper-based labels. We've also expanded and built a complete new fusing concept, which actually reduces the heat that is exposed to the substrate, or we operate actually at a lower temperature, but still run at 30 meters a minute. And thirdly, there's also a water cooling unit in there that will take out the heat of the substrate after being printed. All those 3 components, they enhance actually the application range when it comes down to substrates. On top of that, the new platform for the Xeikon CX500 is also much more intuitive. It communicates with the operators, indicating on certain interventions that are required, for example, toner replenishment and those type of things. And that, of course, makes it one of the new generation toner presses that is out there. Now, I've talked earlier about the benefits of dry toner, and I'm not going to repeat it here because this press is built upon those the same core technology, but there are a few things that I did not highlight yet across the different platforms of dry toner. And that is, for example, that on the press we have an inline spectrometer. And that inline spectrometer allows you to actually monitor your quality throughout the print run. It measures all the different colors, all the colors that are sitting inside the print stations, representing your full color gamut. But beyond that, it can also measure if your press is still printing within inside the color profile, within inside the color standard that you as a company has defined. And I actually will come back to that later actually in the next session or the next chapter where I'm going to be talking about the color services. So but this inline spectrometer is something that measures this. I've taken actually a piece of the printing press to show you how it is done. So that inline spectrometer, when it comes down to monitoring the print stations and the stability of the print stations, we're measuring a specific color strip that is printed alongside the labels at the frequency that you think is relevant. We do this for all the different colors that are sitting inside the print stations, and hence we control the tone curve throughout printing, and we calibrate on the fly. There's additional capability, as I mentioned, where you measure also the color gamut and see if you are printing within inside the color standard that is defined by the company. So this is what I want to share with you about the different printing technologies that Xeikon has in their portfolio, the benefits and the values that these different printing technologies provide also. Let's actually walk over now to the other two aspects that I really want to speak with you today, being our X800 workflow that really allows you to stand out from the crowd, and also our color services, which really gives you the comfort that that you're printing within inside the quality range that you as a company want to set. So let's walk over to our X800. See you in a bit. Okay, so we have seen now 4 digital presses. The label discovery package, the entry-level version. We've seen the Panther for more durable type of labels. We've seen the Cheetah, and we've seen the CX500. All very crucial components in a digital transformation for a label converter. But something what is in many cases overlooked, and probably the most crucial one, is actually the workflow. The one that drives your digital press, also called the digital front end. This will really determine in how you can really transform your company and reap the benefits, the efficiencies that digital really has to offer for your manufacturing environment. There are actually 2 types of workflows, or DFEs, digital front ends. Ones that come out of the conventional world, equipment that were driving actually computer to plate equipment. And you have other DFEs who were driving actually digital presses and come from a total different digital background. If you have designed your workflow from a digital background, then you take into account also the possibilities that digital will provide to you. If you come from a computer to plate environment, you're actually building upon the capabilities and the requirements from a conventional environment. And those are 2 different things. Think about a workflow that comes out of the computer to plate environment is sending actually a fixed repeat to the digital press. And maybe on top you can actually build your variable data. A workflow who is designed for digital is not sending you a fixed repeat, it is sending you a range of objects that you can actually place in a way that is the most efficient and most flexible for you. And that is really where our X800, being a true digital workflow, is really making a difference. Now, when I was explaining this a bit, it might be a bit complicated to understand from what do you mean actually if you have the full flexibility. Well, let me give you an example here. And I hope it illustrates it very well. Take into account you need a long run of multi-varieties, which is very common in digital. That's what digital is about. The fact that you have many varieties that are spread over that are part of a big run. Well, how would you produce that? On digital, you would produce one after the other, and not like in Flexo, print one job, stop the press, change over, and go to the next press. No, in digital, you would run them one after the other. But how do you separate them then? And this is, for example, where our workflow has the capability and the flexibility to actually build in what we call start-stop labels. And you can actually make them very static and very simple and just put start, stop on there, but you can actually use them in a much more intelligent way. For example, you can put a barcode on top of it, and that barcode relates to the job order or maybe to the shipping information. And when at the point when you're printing your shipping label, you read that barcode and allow to ship it. You can put also a thumbnail of the job that you were printing actually, again, to illustrate on where the separations lie. But if you look to this one, you only have what? 2 repeats between the switch from one job to the other job, or at least from one version to the other version, but it can all be part of the same job. And this is something what a digital workflow really allows you to do. Well, you can still think that this is something feasible because there are fixed repeats in there and static repeats in terms of the image in there, but you can go even a bit further. And this is actually where the solution, what we call Job Optimizer, comes in place. It's a standard function that is available on the X800, and where, for example, you're printing the multi-varieties. They come in different quantities. You have your end labels. The yellow wasn't finished. You start your purple again. It's the next version that's starting. But you see that the other one, the green, which comes maybe in a multitude of quantities, in maybe 5,000 pieces, where the purple was only in 1,000 pieces. And then suddenly you see that the purple is starting. This purple one is stopping again. So you see that actually the repeats that you see here, you can recognize the repeat in terms of dimensions, but not in terms of content. And this is where, for example, with a press that maybe runs 50 meters a minute, you can have the same productivity capacity of a press that maybe runs 60 or 70 meters a minute. So therefore, having a digital workflow, a true digital workflow, is really something that allows you and helps you as a printer to set yourself apart in your transformation. Now, beyond that, people are also talking about variable data printing. Just make sure that this one doesn't fall here. Let me put it on the side. Let me put it on the ground here. Sorry for this. Yep. There are also other things where that variable data, for example, comes in play. And then you think about from variable data, maybe some black and white numbering, but it goes even further. And this is a very creative one, a very nice solution. Think about, for example, TripAdvisor or other social media like Airbnb, who have kind of scoring of certain establishments. And they have specific labels for that they stick on the front window. But you only have one label per establishment, per bar or per cafe or restaurant. So they're actually printing many varieties, and the colors actually refer to what kind of, is it a hotel or a restaurant, with all the different information. And you can print this in a multitude of quantities in one run. Again, that is something what digital would enable you. There are some other things that I want to highlight. Vectorizer, for example. Again, that's a software option that helps you to integrate digital printing with laser die cutting by the digital press identifying each repeat and the laser die cut being able to read that identification number, and by that also use the right die cutting tool. So there are many things that you have as possibilities. Also Verilane, another option, where if you would go for the 20-inch or the 516mm web quit machine, you have the capability of printing different lanes next to each other with a different repeat in there. And that actually maximizes your productivity and reduces your waste. So for sure, a lot of possibilities here with the workflow system, and those are things you really have to dig in. Bring your prepress people on board also in a project that relates to digital printing, so that they make sure that they understand that what kind of capabilities and what kind of things you can really change to make things better in your manufacturing process. Let's go now and have a look to the last piece in the Innovation Center, being our Xeikon Color Services. Okay, so we've come now to the last chapter in our visit to the Global Innovation Center, and we're in our color services room here, where I'm going to talk a bit more about quality and color matching, or actually color simulation. And I will explain that a bit later. But give you maybe some other examples of other applications that people have done. Just starting with that one first. Some other applications that people have done. For example, pre-printed cold foil and then afterwards imprinted with a digital press. Think about, you have a long run of health and beauty or wine and spirits with common elements that you can very much do very cost effectively on on a long run conventional press, and then afterwards print in the varieties. That's one of the other capabilities in terms of applications that you have. And then another thing, and now we're diving a bit more into the into colors, other colors, for example. If you're using specific matte silvers or palladium silvers, these are custom colors that people have been making or have requested from Xeikon to produce certain jobs. Yeah. And then we dive specifically into some of the benefits that color services could provide. Color services, they have actually two main things, two main values. First of all, it helps you maybe in managing your cost structure much better. And secondly, it helps you for sure in matching your color or the expected color by the end user. One where we talk about, for example, cost saving is, for example, here we've taken an example of a specific wine and spirit label, a whiskey label, that was printing with very rich black. And actually, if you look to the toner consumption or the ink consumption there, the printer in the past was using a lot of, let's say, colors underneath, black plus CNY, to really get that rich black. Well, Xeikon has developed also a super black. It helps you in reducing the toner usage and still achieve that high flashy quality. So that's, for example, one way how you could actually help, or how it could help you in reducing your costs. Another way, and this is a very common practice with color services, is where you are going to analyze your jobs and that you're going to apply certain color profiles to it. I think you as a printer, you might see differences between this. Maybe not through the camera, but if you would have this lying in front of you, you might see difference between these different labels. All of them are printed with a different color profile. This actually is not, no color profile has been applied. And if you compare this one to the most extreme one, you see that you could do an ink or toner saving of more than 30%. Now, of course, it depends upon design and all that type of stuff and what kind of quality you want to set into the market. But at least you have that power in your hand with, for example, color services that Xeikon is providing them. And that's one aspect of color services. Now, there's a second aspect also, and maybe a more important one, is you have your customers out there which are setting certain expectations, specifically also towards color, and which you in your production environment have to manage. And inside the production environment, you have the printer who really wants to do the right job and needs to be able to see that. You have the production manager who actually should be able from a distance trust on his printers and know that they're doing the right job by being able to see it with certain metrics or certain parameters that are made visible to him, and giving the tools to, for example, the sales team to also say to them set out the right expectations. And this is another area where Xeikon Color Services is really extremely valuable for you as a label printer. To give you an idea, this is actually an example, and if you really want, we can send you some samples of this for your own evaluation. These are samples where one side has been printed digitally and where the other side has been printed conventionally. And if you could see the difference, again, as an expert, probably yes, you can. But if you look from a consumer perspective, you would not see the difference. And this is having that capability of managing the colors in-house without having to do any additional manual intervention towards the manufacturing floor is really going to be of a lot of value. Otherwise, you create a lot of waste of time and waste of trying to repeat jobs, for example, if you do not put the right color standards into your production environment. But yes, you can achieve where you can be switching from flexo to digital and back and forth without your end users necessarily have to see the difference. And that's, of course, a very important asset. Again, if you want to see some samples live, we can send them to you. Now, setting the standards, setting the quality expectations towards your customers comes down also to helping your sales teams to set the right expectations. And for example, the way you could do this is by printing these color charts. This is now a very simple color chart where we have a specific Pantone color printed in CNYK and the other one with a gamut extension color. So if the customer really wants to have that very accurate representation of his color, then you can actually put the samples in front of him and actually have two different kind of price levels maybe linked to it. And you could do this for all the different color extensions that you really want to manage inside your production environment. We actually have customers who have multiple presses with each allocated to one specific color configuration, for example, because you have in all Xeikon presses, or specifically the dry toner presses, you have that fifth print station which you can actually put that gamut extension color in there. Now, that is something where the sales team can go out and manage actually that cost or set the right expectations, but then the brand owners or the print buyers come to your shop. And then the question is from, yeah, but I like the color a bit different. I like it a bit more reddish, bluish, greenish, whatever. The most challenging conversations to manage in a production environment and eating up a lot of time. And that's also where within Inside Color Services we have a unique solution for you on that one. Being the candy shop, we call it. If this would be, for example, the specific color that the customer has requested, you would print the candy shop and we would print various different variations of that specific color with different CMYK colors or different CMYK formulations, so that actually the brand owner and a print buyer can actually say from, nah, it's not actually this one that I intended, I prefer this color. And just by click of the mouse, you automatically save that CMYK formulation for that color for that customer in your job tickets. Again, that all comes down to the capabilities that you have in your workflow. But for sure, this is supported with the X800, fully integrated. And in such case, you can actually make the circle round. You can set your expectations outside with tools. So salespeople can set the expectations to your customers, but when the customers come in, you can actually help them also in picking the right colors. And I've shown you samples where we can prove that you can actually simulate digital towards your flexo color capabilities. So this is what I all wanted to share with you, with all the things that we have here at our Global Innovation Center in Antwerp. A lot of things that I've shared with you. Probably there's a lot of questions, and I'm looking forward to receive them from you. All right. Ciao.